I think that with the runs of form, I think that Bayern Munich have kind of always had a bit more of a base level that's more sustainable overall.
Yeah.
They've not dropped to really concerning levels of form. They've maintained a bit more, and I think that they actually really know very well, as opposed to historically PSG.
Yeah.
Being in a kind of lackluster league and it affecting your form, Bayern Munich have always been able to kind of use those lower level Bundesliga sides to keep them fresh without needing to really go up into that higher gear, but then they can really pull it out in the Champions League. PSG struggle with that, but I think that this is a great example of a Bayern Munich side that at their lowest, they still looked more convincing than most of these great sides at their lowest this season so far.
These are teams, especially at this level of competition, I call them the specialists of Champions League. This is where you really need to start seeing who is really good under pressure, performing in the highest stage. And Bayern and Madrid is a staple. It's an European Classico, if you want to say it, but I got AI prediction, and AI was giving me the edge. He said Madrid is 2-1. I don't know if that will happen, but
so it didn't do both legs. It just did this first leg.
Yeah, just the first leg. He said 2-1, and he said, so this is what AI said. He said, hey, it's kind of hard to beat Madrid in April, and it historically been hard to beat Madrid at Bernabeu.
Yeah, I mean, and that is exactly right. And they have kind of picked up more in form. They look a bit more secure offensively, even though they don't really look like they have all of their teeth back yet. They do look they're kind of getting a bit more harmony up front at the same time.
Sporting Arsenal. Before we start, I think Arsenal will win this, but it will not be as easy. I think if Arsenal goes in there and think it's gonna be easy, they will be surprised.
Right.
But if they take it serious, they will win.
I think that Arsenal, especially Arteta, the last thing that they do, I think that it's what hurts them. I don't think that they ever go into a game expecting to win, and that's a good thing. Like that being humble in that regard is it keeps you from making stupid mistakes, like arrogant mistakes. But I think that what it also does is it limits your freeness. If you treat every single game like, oh my God, we just got to get 90 minutes, boys, please, God, let's just get through it. You play a very conservative style, and that often takes away a lot of your chances. So while they do need to understand that Sporting are, Portuguese royalty and they deserve this spot, it does not mean that they have to absolutely park the bus and play at a snail's pace away from home. I'm expecting if they play free and they play expansive and they play positive, Arsenal can walk away with a 1-0. But if they play like they have been, I foresee away from home getting a 1-1 draw, and that's not the end of the world, because that's what happened with Bayer Leverkusen as well in the last in the last stage of the competition. But I expect a 1-1 draw because I just don't feel like Arteta is going to let them kind of set themselves a bit free to be able to take care of those things.
Based on what you said, I personally had Arsenal for the win. But also I had my buddy AI, and the reason why I say AI, most of you guys don't. If you wanted to know, just side note, my you can say my major, it's basically AI. CSAI, and I do a lot of this nowadays. I put it in, but they said the same thing as you just said. Just because it's the stadium they're playing at Sporting, and it's kind of hard to also beat them at the stadium, especially when Sporting is decided to win. I think if Arsenal goes and don't park the bus, but also don't overcommit. Just balance it and counter when you have the opportunity, but don't go there and try to sit down like if you want to kneel, because if you want to kneel, the Sporting might do you.
If you
don't want that.
If you sit back and you're anxious and you're looking like you're scared that you're going to concede, you're going to concede.
You're going to concede.
So don't do that. He always has, when he wants them to play overly defensive, neither the manager or the guys out there look like they're comfortable in that decision, but it feels like they're being told by somebody else that that's what they have to do. It's like, no, you're the manager. You manage that. If you look insecure, they can feel that, and if they look insecure, then you need to change that. You need to allow them to feel comfortable, and it doesn't feel like the style of play that they've been running this whole season, but really since Christmas. It does not feel like they're confident in what they're doing.
That's true. And I think at this stage of the competition, all these games are so interesting. So if you catch those games, you're going to have fun. Paris Saint-Germain, Liverpool, this one is a doozy. But I think Saint-Germain will win this. The reason is because right now, they've done what they've done last year. this is around this time the level and the form is picking up, even in the French league, because even the beginning of the year or mid-season, they were losing against Nice. They were losing against, but right now they're smashing anyone.
And they were flipping with Lens for first and second. They were back and forth. But yeah, I think that PSG win home and away on this. I don't think that it's necessarily a 5-0 in aggregate.
No.
But I see a home and away victory, man. I don't think that Virgil van Dijk has any answers for those guys up top. I think
especially the high press when Dembele gets you just there. Yeah, it's hard.
Dembele against Milos Kerkez is the matchup that you have.
Is the matchup.
That's awful. Yeah, I think that the attacking lineup of PSG, I think that they're so pacey and they're so technical and they have such depth that you can bring any of those guys off in the 70th minute and bring someone else on that's equally comparable both in pace and in skill on the ball. And I just don't see anyone in that Liverpool back line being able to cope with that because, let alone throughout the entire match. But when you're running ragged, when you're looking up at the clock and you're tired into the 75th minute and you see Bradley Barcola fresh coming on or a fresh Desiree Doué coming on, there is literally nothing that you can do to really remedy that situation. So I think it could be a very tough day defensively for Liverpool.
Plus, if you look at it pragmatically, Liverpool is fighting for the top 4 spot in Premier League. So for the opportunity to play back in Champions League and just be at the top, So they will have to be tested on their squad depth, and they don't have it.
No, they don't.
And you will have to play in the Premier League and playing at 100% and coming back to play the Champions League at 100%. And in Champions League, you playing PSG, the speed.
Yeah.
After playing PSG, you normally, the way I see, you need 4 days off because it's just too much intensity.
And everything that you just said is exactly spot on. And I'll add one more thing to it. And they just got demolished 4-0 against Man City in the FA Cup.
That's another thing.
On top of that as well, your confidence.
So mentally, they're not even there.
Not a chance. Not a chance mentally. Now, again, it can happen. But I'm telling you, when both sides line up to start that match, the mentality, the confidence are going to be on opposite ends of the spectrum, regardless of the outcomes, regardless of the performances. Just the believability and the expectation of what they have from themselves is going to be very different.